we begin today's broadcast of Atlanta's Marathon Weekend, we'd like to take a moment to remember Jeff Galloway, who passed away this week. Jeff was Atlanta's own 1972 Olympian and the very first winner of the Peachtree Road Race. But his greatest legacy wasn't the races he won or how fast he ran, it was how many people he welcomed into running. Through his belief that everyone belonged in the sport, he helped millions of new runners find the courage to start, to take walk breaks, and to discover that this sport could be joyful and sustainable. If you're standing on a start line this weekend thinking, the women's side.
O'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Arsley one more time. Now, let's meet some of our top athletes in our men's field. Now running for the Boston Athletic Association and he set 2 school records while competing for Yale and finished 4th in the 2024 California International Marathon. Looking to make a mark here today. Give it up for Router Miranda. Come on. Next up, as a dual citizen of the U.S. and Great Britain, he won 2022 NCAA cross-country title and is a 3-time under-23 European champion. Now competing for the USA, he makes his half marathon debut today, and a lot of American running fans can't wait to see how he does. Give it up for Charles Hicks. Come on. A 2-time runner-up in highly competitive Houston Half Marathon. He finished in the top 20 at the recent World Cross Country Championships. A 7-time All-American out of Iowa State. He's shown that if he's on the starting line, he's the threat to win. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Wesley Kiptoo. He ran his half marathon debut this January in 59 minutes, 57 seconds, just 2 seconds shy of Hillary's best. 2023 Pan Am Games gold medalist at 10,000 meters. Give it up for Isaiah Rodriguez. A 2-time Olympic finalist in the steeplechase. Nothing about his switch to the roads has tripped him up yet so far. He's landed on 2 podiums at 6 national championships, including a 3rd-place finish here last year. He brings the fastest time in the field with 59 minutes and 55 seconds. Let's give it up for Hillary Bourne. Ladies and gentlemen, let's send these 5 men and the rest of the field off with some love. Our men's USATF Half Marathon Championship right here. Come on. Remember, the commands will be runner set. When you hear that horn, that's when you'll take off. Here we go. Runner set. Go, 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 go. Association and Adidas. Let's give it up for Megan Taylor. Come on. Next up, the 2024 Big 12 champion at 5,000 meters. She's the reigning USATF Marathon champion after winning in her debut at the distance last December. Despite just falling short before the finish, she said, "I just need it to be over." She said that later. Let's give it up for Molly Bourne. Come on. Next up, a three-time Georgia State High School champion out of Fellowship Christian in Roswell. She's the fastest woman in the field with a personal best of 1 hour, 7 minutes, 35 seconds set at this race last year. Formerly with Atlanta Track Club Elite, she's been runner-up in 5 USATF championships and looking to notch a winner in her homecoming today. Give it up for the one, the only, Emma Grace Hurley. Next up, a two-time USATF champion at 15K, 20K, ran the second fastest marathon by an American woman last year, 2 hours, 22:56, representing U.S. in the World Championship Marathon. Erica Kim, come on. Last but definitely not least, she took 2 years away from the sport, then pulled off the biggest surprise, 2024 Olympic marathon trials by finishing fourth, just one spot off the team. Since then, she's been at the top of American women at Boston, placed 8th of the World Championships at 25. Welcome, Jess McClain. Come on. Ladies, good luck to you, each of you, as you take the streets of Atlanta. We're 10 seconds away from the start of our women's race. Runners, set, go, 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 go.
Good day to you and a belated welcome to the 20th running of the Publix Atlanta Marathon Weekend. We are focusing upon the elite half marathon today, which incorporates the USATF Championships for the half marathon. My name's Tim Hutchings, beside me Carrie, Tollefson. A record number of over 15,000 runners in the events today. Perfect conditions here in Atlanta. It's almost 7:30 in the morning local time. It's about 45 Fahrenheit, 9 degrees centigrade, no wind. The elite races have been underway now for just over 5-6 minutes, something like that. And with big prize money up for these elite athletes, we will be focusing upon those races. But you can see the scene here as we get ready for the second wave, Wave B of the masses. 1,300 will be heading off in that wave. We shall join the elite races very shortly after one or two technical hitches here in the city of running. But you haven't missed much. The great racing is coming up for the elite men and women, Carrie.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this USATF National Championship underway here. We have some awesome athletes, but 15,000 people have been here racing all weekend. What an awesome way to start this weekend in Running USA.
Absolutely. Left a picture, you can see the men's field, which set off at 7:15, so about 14 minutes ago now, or at least they were due to have done. They actually got underway a little bit late. They've been running for just over 8 minutes, the men, and the women 3 minutes behind. The rider picture there, you can see two very different races. The women's pack, what, about 10 or 12 strong, maybe more. And in the men's race, well, you've got Wesley Kipto and Hillary Bohr pumping out a very, very quick tempo there. And they've left behind, Carrie, in the space of, what, about 3 kilometers, and 8.5 minutes on the clock now for the men. In the space of 3 kilometers, they've created a huge gap between themselves and the chasing pack, which includes so many big names.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at Graydon Morris here on that chase pack. He's really working up these hills. You know, the first 5K of this course is very, very hilly. This whole course is up and down, up and down. But, yeah, this is the thing. Jack Mullaney, the coach of the Hoka Northern Arizona Elite Group, he said he was going to advise his athletes to kind of pull back a little bit in the earlier stages. They saw the race last year and how people that pulled back did a little bit better in the final stages. Well, Wesley Kipto is the guy up front with Hillary Bohr, and that's one of his athletes. So we're seeing these two yo-yo back and forth. Hillary Bohr was the third here last year. Wesley Kipto, sort of newer to the roads, but he is a new American citizen in 2025. Yeah, so really exciting day for him to maybe win his first U.S. championship.
Quick reset. The men have just gone through 5K. The technical hitches here have caused a little few lumps and bumps in the road for us sitting here near the start and finish line. Wesley Kipto 14:21 with Hillary Bohr there. And as you can see, the rest of them already some 18 seconds or so further back, 18 or 19 seconds further back, including a Morris, Charlie Hicks, Reed, Ahmed Muhammad, and Sam Chalanga. It's a big, high-caliber pack there, but I'm astonished, Carrie, that they've gone out so cautiously, because 14:21, well, that represents around a 61-minute tempo. It's not like they're lighting up the roads, that opening pair, that leading pair.
But, you know, we talk so much about time, and I think a lot of these athletes, and actually Charlie Hicks, he's the guy right there, the blue shorts with the orange on his top, kind of now tucking back in. But he is making his debut here over this distance. Yes, we know he is a sub-2:10 guy on the roads now for the marathon, but he's coming back down in distance and running today. And he always talks about competition. Throw the time out the door and start to just go out there and remember the old ways of just competing. So, you know, he's got to keep an eye on what's going on up front, not get them too far away from him. But at the same time, it's all about top 3 today as well, making that world team, and then obviously winning a national championship.
Well, it is a high-caliber field. Let's take a look at it. Hillary Bohr and Wesley Kipto, funnily enough, are out front. These are some of the top names. Charlie Hicks with that super-fast 10 miles last year in April in Cherry Blossom 45:14. He ran there with an American record being set in second place as he wasn't eligible. Isaiah Rodriguez, he is one of the favorites today. One of 2 men who's run under 60 minutes for the half marathon. And Ahmed Muhammad, well, we believe he's worth a couple of minutes quicker than that PR of 61:03. But this city is renowned for its fabulous racing, whether it's men or women. Well, we're waiting for that women's 5K split to come in. But Carrie, there is so much talent on this page. It's tough to pick out a favorite.
Well, you're looking at Jess McLean and Erica Kemp, both represented the U.S. at the World Championships in the marathon just in September. Emma Grace Hurley, top returner from last year, has the fastest PB on paper. Molly Bourne coming off of winning her first USATF championship in her debut marathon at CIM, which was just early December. And then we have Megan Saylor. Megan Saylor is coming from Boston. She's sort of newer to the roads, but in the last year, she's really taken to it and done very well at the USATF circuit. And Baruch Degefa. Baruch has been around for a long time. She has been on the roads as a marathoner. She's coming off of a third-place finish at Houston Marathon in January. And look at this pack, Tim.
Yeah, they are. It's a very different race, isn't it? The way the women have set out here. I'm waiting for that 5K split to come up for them. Well, it's only 15 minutes coming up in the clock now. The correct time's top left of your screen. And does this suggest they've gone out cautiously, Carrie? Nobody really pumping it hard here and testing them through these opening kilometers.
No, as we're looking at Cassie Parker right there, a newer name too. But Degefa is in the middle of that pack along with Molly Bourne, who we were just talking about. Molly Bourne has had some amazing races on the roads. She's new. She runs with the Puma Group out of North Carolina and has been having a phenomenal year so far. She hasn't raced since that marathon, but yeah, she's the tall blonde there in the middle of the pack, keeping our eye on her. But I'd have to say Jess McLean is sort of the one that everyone is watching right now. She came off running the World Championships in Tokyo in September, placing 8th there. We saw her for most of the race up in front, along with Susanna Sullivan, who was 4th there for the Americans. And just such a great synergy right now in the U.S. distance running. I think everybody's excited about competing at the top level, and that is what's on the line today, not only winning this race and winning a national championship, but getting to Copenhagen next September.
Yeah, Molly Bourne made a winning debut back on the 7th of December with that winning the California International Marathon. That's in Sacramento. That was a 2:24 clocking. Degefa, well, a question mark over her, the 35-year-old American who just recently got American citizenship. She is very, very experienced. 34 marathons under her belt. She's run 10 halves in the past. She's won 6 of them. And her PR at 69.41 from 2022 is a couple of minutes down on 1 or 2 athletes in this field. And the early kilometers of this race, Carrie, are pretty quick, aren't they? It's you sort of want to bank that credit, so to speak, if you can, in any road race where you have a favorable start. Is that the 5K point there? They just went over a mat in around 16:50.
Yeah, so they too are just kind of getting through these early stages. I think being a little bit more conservative earlier on here. You know, they're going to start climbing. They climb the first 5K, then they start rolling. And there's some flat sections from 4 to 7. I think that's where you're going to see the tempo tick up a little bit. Once they get into Piedmont Park, that's the lowest part of this course. And they're right there around 7 to 8 miles. And then from then on out, it is a real tough climb. The last 5K of this race is really, really hard. So I think some of these athletes that are coming back, you know, Jess McLean was here last year. She was 4th. Emma Grace Hurley, she was 2nd last year. These athletes know what this course brings you. Emma Grace Hurley trains here. She grew up here in Atlanta. So, you know, to see them kind of maybe just holding back a little bit, I think is playing into their game.
Well, 16:48 at 5K equates to about 70 minutes, 30 seconds. So not super quick when you think that the event record by Taylor O last year, when she won by 13 seconds, was 67:22. Last year was really, really cold. It was a freezing morning. This morning it's just about perfect. 45 Fahrenheit, not a breath of wind. It's going to get really warm this afternoon. It's going to go up to about 75 this afternoon. But conditions right now pretty much perfect, and it's kind of ironic that they have gone out pretty cautiously. The main pack in the men's race and this entire pack in the women's race.
There's a couple big names in here that we haven't mentioned. Carrie Elwood is the one leading. She's coming off of winning the USATF 25K in 2025. That was last spring. She's, you know, a very, very good runner. A lot of people remember her as Carrie Verdon. She's now Elwood. But she's the one leading the pack. But there's a number of debutantes in the race as well. So you have to keep your eye on. Well, Edna Kerr we like to say she's a debutante. She did a workout once in a half marathon. So she does have a stat for it. But this is for her first actual race where she's running competitively. And we can see those names right there. Grace Hartman coming off the NCAAs. She runs for NC State. She's taken this indoor season off for sure, not knowing what's going to happen in the outdoor season. And then Annie Rodefeld. Annie is such a good road racer. She's great on the track, but man, does she run well on the road. So it'll be fun to see her race today.
It's fair to say, isn't it, that Edna Kurgat is a late developer. She's 34, but in the form of her life. 10th in those World Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee on the 10th of January. She was the first non-East African vest to finish. It was an astonishing run after a third place in the U.S. domestic trials back in early December. And she's a solid track runner, although many of her NCAA titles and PRs on track were a couple of years ago or more. But there's big prize money up for grabs here, Carrie, today. $20,000 for first place, over $110,000 in total. And I think, you know, these athletes are looking forward to racing here. If you want to go and have a sort of point and press super fast time, you go to one of the big European races which are very, very flat and fast. You go to Houston in January, and one or two of these athletes did run Houston, some 6 weeks or so ago. But you come to Atlanta to learn to race, and that is kind of the fundamental quality of track and field athletics. Track athletics as road racing is actual competition, man against man, woman against woman. That's what I like about this, that so many athletes have accepted this challenge here today.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about fast times. Emma Grace Hurley's PR is from right here. She went 67 minutes here last year. It was cold, it was windy. Today is a much different day. It's a beautiful day to race here, and so even though this course has lots of ups and downs, it is a very fast course. And we're seeing right now Emma Grace Hurley, she said last year she was up in the front kind of hanging on right around second and third place, but today she's right up front leading the charge. And looking on the men's side there, it's still these two guys, Hillary Bohr and Wesley Kiptoo.
Yeah, it is two men out in front by well, at the last check, some 19 seconds, something like that, and they do appear to be sharing the pace here. It's Wesley Kiptoo who leads on the NCAA title for Iowa State over 5,000 meters back in 2021. He's got great track pedigree, 13-14 indoors for 5,000. He's a 27-37 guy on the track for 10,000 meters, and very strong too. Won the Cherry Blossom 10 miler in 2024, a couple of years back, 45.54, and then last year was finished in 5th place there behind Charlie Hicks. And he's experienced too on the roads. He's run 3 halves last year, 7th in Houston, 5th in New York, 2nd in Pittsburgh. My notes here, haven't checked his CV, so he seems ready for a personal best after the World Cross Country where he ran so well.
He is such a racer, Tim. I mean, we saw him at the NCAA level. He doesn't have his gloves on today, which everyone watched him in the NCAA. He'd even wear them indoors. But he is such a gritty guy. He likes to be up front. He touches the lead in most of the races. But these guys, too, are marathoners now. They're getting ready for some spring marathons, Rotterdam and Boston. But just such competitors. They know each other. They're having fun all weekend together. So you know they're out here pushing each other, taking the leads, and just hopefully having a great race. But they are really kind of pouring it on here early on.
Well, he was 14th in the World Cross Country, some 6 or 7 weeks ago. Wesley Kiptoo is leaning into a little bit of a climb here. Incidentally, while this isn't a dead flat course, it is kind of medium fast, I would say. But what is significant is that the number of turns has reduced dramatically. There were 57 turns in last year's course. With a few tweaks and changes, there are around half that this year. So it is a quicker route that they're covering in this anti-clockwise circuit of the city. And Hillary Bohr, well, 3rd here last year in 60.59, but he is a sub-60 man. He ran 59.55 for 3rd in New York in March last year. Emma Grace Hurley making a move here, and about time, Carrie. I mean, the women have been running for, 23 minutes here, and Hurley has to be confident. You know, really good 2nd place here last year. I chatted to her very briefly yesterday, and she said she knows she's in great shape. And I think one of the things is, while you don't come to a race like this necessarily looking to run super fast, you actually want your training to be realised. You don't want to put all those weeks and months of work and actually run round holding back for 10 miles and then let it rip for the last 3.
Well, she's a racer. She's been putting in a lot of work. She's had to do a lot of work on the treadmill, but she came here for about 10 days before, like she did last year, to visit family and to get on the roads. And she's really been having fun. She said she's really excited about today to race. She likes competition. She's been second or runner-up at USATF Championships 5 times. And since 2024, she has just been consistent every time she lines up. So she's really taking to competition. She knows how to compete, when to push. And right now you can see that she's using the lower miles, or the ones where she can actually work on the downhill and the straightaways to really put some moves on.
Yeah, and Kurgat responding to that too. It's nice, isn't it? It's sort of woken up the pack. I guess for about 20 minutes they were easing along, maybe just a little too comfortably, and now they're beginning to work harder, and it's splitting it up pretty quickly, isn't it? Now that she's turned it up a couple of notches.
Well, it's different. All these ladies have just different backgrounds, right? So Emma Grace Hurley is more, she sticks to the roads a little bit more. Edna Kurgat coming from the World Cross Country Championships. And then Jess McLean, she too was coming from the roads, but she just did a couple track races to prepare for this. She ran a mile and a 2 mile against some high school boys in Arizona, and she's been feeling good. So she's got some zip in her legs, which is a little bit different for her when she's training for marathons.
Well, there wouldn't be zip in anybody's legs without sponsorship. And I can tell you that Publix is excited to support health and wellness in the community as title sponsor of the 2026 Publix Atlanta Marathon Weekend. Happy running from Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Well, back to this leading pair in the men's race. Now, last time we got a shot of the trail pack, they were some 19 or 20 seconds back. And these two looking lovely and relaxed with, 28 minutes on the clock, so approaching halfway. Here is that chasing pack, 2, 4, 6, 8. I reckon that's about 10 strong. Charlie Hicks, who we had a long talk with yesterday. I was expecting a spectacular debut from Charlie today, who till 2023 was running for Britain, the country he was born in. And of course, when you change allegiance, he's now back in the US where his parents living in Jacksonville. You have to sit out for 3 years, not being able to race internationally with a internet vest on. So Charlie, until July, can't race for the USA, but he's training for the Boston Marathon in about 7 weeks' time, and he said he's in fabulous shape. Talking to his assistant coach this morning, he's putting a really good balance of speed work on the track and mileage at 115 miles a week. And, you know, with that 7th place in the New York Marathon, his debut last November, where he ran just under 2 hours, 10 minutes. He's a young man growing in confidence, but we know, Carrie, he's got fabulous pedigree from his races over these last few years.
He really does. He's such a fun guy to follow. He's at Stanford. He won the NCAA Cross Country Championship there, and you know, he's raced against these guys for many years. Hillary Bohr there in second, 2-time Olympian in the steeplechase. Just what can he do? He does the marathon, he does the steeplechase, he does all of it. But then we're looking at Wesley Kiptoo really try to push right now. And you can see 43 seconds up, Tim. That's a huge lead that these two guys have.
Well, they've gone through 10K in 28:46. Now that puts them on about 60-40 tempo. So even these two fellas are not exactly flying. And the main pack, well, a long way back. It's really surprising. And that last mile looked 4:39.
We're looking at Ahmed Mohammed there. He was 4th here last year. You know, he typically is a guy that's aggressive. We saw him run a half marathon this year where he went out, it was at Valencia, and he tried to set the American record, and he kind of blew up a little bit. So trying maybe a different race tactic here, and he is a Jack Mulaney athlete, so Jack might have told him just relax a little early on, try to make sure that you save a little something for the back half of this race.
I'm a little puzzled at how cautiously this pack has gone out. I mean, at what point does somebody in this pack lose patience and realize they're going to run out of road, start a charge through the second half towards that leading pair? I mean, they must be getting information from the sidelines. I mean, they must be almost out of sight on the majority of these streets, and they must be getting information about how big that lead is. Look at that yawning gap behind these two fellas, and I wonder if they are being told how much of a cushion they've built up behind them, because if they are, that would give them real reinforcement through this third quarter. And this is where the big questions are asked, Carrie, isn't it? Because I think once you're in the last 5K, those last 3 miles or so, you kind of got the bit between your teeth and you can almost psychologically see the finish line. But this next 15 minutes, absolutely critical to the way the men's race unfolds.
I think they have to start turning it up in that chase pack. You know, we are getting closer to Piedmont Park here. That's the famous park where the Peachtree Road Race finishes at. But listen, that's where everything starts. So this section right here is kind of that aggressive section if you want to try to maybe make some moves, because once those hills hit, everybody feels them, no matter how far back you are. So, yeah, I do think this is critical right now for them to reel them in. And this is that stretch, Tim, where they can actually still see them. They're going to start making turns, and every single turn you can kind of hide and get away even a little more.
Well, Hurley's still applying the pressure in that women's pack. And do you remember, about 6 or 8 minutes ago, it was probably 10 or 12 strong. Well, now we're down to 5 by the looks of things. Kurgat is riding there, almost slipstreaming behind Hurley, who's taken on the burden of pushing hard herself, ignoring everybody else. A little glance over her shoulder there just to see what sort of damage this has done, and she'll be glad to see that it's reduced the pack very, very quickly. McLean there to the right of picture in the blue is just feeding off this surge. But this is a classic distance running situation. Hurley here has just got to keep pummeling away and hope that the damage is gradually being done to those 4 athletes behind her.
Yeah, Emma Grace Hurley has, as I said, is just such a great competitor. But we're looking at that chase pack, and Molly Bourne, that debutante in the marathon at CIM, she is the one trying to close that gap up just a little bit.
Well, the women are not that far away from the 10K. Remember, their 5K time 16:48. Surely this second 5K split will reflect quite a significant acceleration. Nobody's moving up alongside Hurley here, and sometimes in distance races like this, you want to move up alongside somebody to give them that psychological message that, hey, you're not testing me here. I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this tempo. And as I say that, so Kurgat gets up alongside Hurley on this downslope with those long legs, unraveling down the slope. Maybe a little bit more natural downhill runner in that army vest, Kurgat. And actually, we're down to 4. Trying to see who that is who's dropped away.
I think that's Parker, Cassie Parker, that was aggressive in the early stages, but she's starting to drop off a little bit in the all-black kit. You know, we were talking with Scott Simmons, Edna Kurgat, her coach, yesterday, and he was saying that she's starting to do some longer workouts. You had been asking, when is she going to move up to the marathon? She's been so good in these middle distances for the distance runners, and he said she's been doing some longer workouts, really having some good workouts back home, but she's not quite ready.
Well, we talked about the title sponsor of this race weekend a few minutes ago. There are others involved, too, to make this a weekend work. They're the oxygen of big events like this. So rewrite your routine. Real hydration, electrolytes, coconut water, no artificial dyes. Choose better. Body Armor.
Well, right now my eyes are on Jess McLean. You can see her right in the back there in 4th position, but she's right there up on Emma Grace Hurley and Edna Kurgat. You know, she said last year was the year of 4ths for her. She was 4th at the Olympic trials in the marathon, 4th at the Olympic trials in the 10,000 meters on the track, and then she was 4th here last year, and she was actually alternate for the World Championships in Tokyo in the marathon, and then she went and ran so well. But she's just hungry to wear the USA across her chest and make these teams, and she's really coming into her own.
Well, speaking of hungry to run well, Carrie Elwood there to left of picture has been dragged along by this little group. She was 8th here last year in 69:36. She improved in Indy. She won the Indianapolis half marathon back in November with 68:34. She's a pretty solid marathon runner. Didn't run one last year, but she ran 2:31 in Chicago back in 2021 when she ran a series of marathons over a 3 or 4 year period. Maybe that freshness now is coming to the fore. No marathon in her legs. Maybe she's been putting in a little bit more of that shorter work to focus upon this and then come back to the marathons. You know, it's not a bad thing to necessarily have a fallow year from the marathon. Focus on maybe 10Ks and half marathons. and then come back to the marathon afresh with a little bit more zip in your legs. There's that 10K split, 33 minutes exactly at 10K.
Well, you're talking about Carrie Elwood there on the left of the screen. She is a phenomenal athlete, and when I spoke to Andrew Castor, her coach, who's Dina Castor's husband as well, he said she's sort of an underdog. A lot of people don't necessarily talk about her a lot, but she won that USATF 25K. She's got some great results on her resume, but I think she's really finding her rhythm on the roads, and she's been aggressive in that 25K. She looked so smooth and so in command for someone that hadn't won a U.S. championship yet. And then for her to run, like you said, 68 minutes in Indianapolis, that's another strong performance. So it's not surprising to see her up here in the lead. And to have Dina Castor in your ear and to be able to have her watch you, work out. She was a bronze medalist in the Olympic Games, and everybody knows Dina, so that's pretty cool to have in your ear.
Pretty inspiring. That second 5K, by the way, after a 16:48, kind of languid opening 5K. The second 5K, 16:12 to get to 10K in 33 minutes exactly. So Hurley has done the damage here, and that sort of acceleration, that's a big acceleration, is very hard to contend with. Over half a minute acceleration between the first 5K and the second 5K. And you can see the damage it's done. And Hurley continues to ask questions of this trio behind her.
Yeah, she looks like she's putting some pace in, and she actually has some fans on the road. I just saw her smile at some fans on the road, so she knows that people know her here in Atlanta. It's an important race for her to win. She trained here for many years at the Atlanta Track Club, and she's now in Indianapolis. She said this winter has been really, really tough on her, so she was ready to get into the warmth, have some sun, and see what she could do. But she said she's in super shape. That's what she told me. She is ready to go.
Well, after that second last year, she ran a great 10-miler 5 weeks later. She ran 51:04. That is absolutely world-class. There is Parker in 5th place. Cassie Parker for Crown Running. She's only a 70-22 athlete. Very tough when you get dropped by a pack and you're having to work on your own or begin to work on your own. It always helps if you've got somebody sort of, 5, 10, 15 meters in front of you, within sort of psychological reach. It's almost like there's an elastic band that can pull you along, and you can close down on somebody when they're not too far ahead of you. But when that gap becomes 50 meters, 100 meters, 10, 20 seconds, then it starts becoming really challenging because you're isolated. Hurley's working hard here. There's an aggression to the way she's moving here. And in contrast, Kurgap, so much taller. Carrie looks like she's loping, doesn't she? Looks really, really strong and relaxed.
Well,
and, after that 10th in the World Cross Country, no wonder, because to get anywhere, say in the top 20 in the World Cross Country Championships these days, with that East African strength of being so phenomenal from Ethiopia and Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania and so many others, it's getting 10th place is supreme fitness, and that's beginning to show here.
Yeah, she's been looking really good, and this is that kind of long downhill stretch here where they're getting a little reprieve from the hills. They know that, so they're using the course to their advantage right now. Cassie Parker, though, still in the shot. She's working to keep up with these top 4.
Well, we can take a look at the course map of this half marathon. Of course, as I said, an anti-clockwise loop around the city. The lowest point of the course is at Piedmont Park, right at the top there, around 8 miles. And then there's a big climb on 12th Street, that top left corner, as you look at the map. And it continues to undulate through the second half. And then Carrie, they finish off with a very welcome last mile, half mile or so, that's downhill. And the way the men's race certainly is panning out, it looks like it could be a 2-man race come that finish. But the women's race, well, it's still anybody's.
Yeah, and the men are approaching that 9-mile mark, and they are hurting right now. They are using that climb. They're going to go up and down, Tim, the entire way in. But you said it, the last K is screaming downhill. So we are going to see some fast running in the last 1K of this race.
I just wonder if anybody is telling that men's pack how big the gap is in front of them.
Well, I just saw them take a look back, and they took a long look back.
Yeah, well, they probably can't believe what they're seeing. I mean, 41 minutes on the clock. They've got, about let's say they're going to run 61 minutes, something like that. That could be pessimistic. They're well past 2/3 into this race. These two fellas are working together. I don't know. I haven't seen them talking to each other, but they look to be working together. Sometimes you don't need to talk or communicate. There's just this sort of body language and having the company is enough. But Hillary Bohr at the moment tucked in behind Wesley Kiptoo in those pink arm sleeves. And it's Kiptoo who's doing all the hard work and has been for a little while now, the 26-year-old. He was 14th, remember, in those World Cross-Country Champs, and 3 great halves last year. He's feeling comfortable with this distance. And I sort of really admire this aggression, Carrie, that has gone from the gun. You know, they were pulling away after 1 or 2 kilometers. And I always think front runners deserve their reward. I'd like to see these two fellas, one of them, come away with the win here today. Everybody else has been running super cautiously. It's bizarre.
Yeah, they are way back right now, that chase pack. And these two are ones that we know are aggressive. So I'm surprised to see the lead pack let them get so far out. I mean, Hillary Bohr has shown us time and time again. He's an 8-time USATF champion. He's a 2-time Olympian. You can't let that guy get out of your sight. But now if you just saw in that last shot, you could see the pace or the chase pack just start to climb up that hill. They're going to have to work hard, not only for this course, but they're going to try to have to reel these guys in. And I don't think these guys look like they're hurting at all. They look good. And they're both in marathon training right now.
Well, we're hearing that Mohammed and Hicks are pulling away from the chase group. So maybe they've realized that they're in danger. There it is. Mohammed pushing on really strongly here. That's Ahmed Mohammed, the 28-year-old, best of 61.03. He ran there when he was 4th here last year. He arrived with a PR outside 63 minutes, and he improved over 2 minutes for that 4th place last year. And Morris moving nicely now too.
Greta Morris coming off of a great indoor race. We ran 13:36. He said he was okay with it, but that has to help as he's getting ready for these longer races.
Well, he's a prolific racer, Graydon Morris. He raced so much last year, from 1,500 meters to 10,000 meters, but he was only 36th in the US Cross Country Championships in Portland last year. But these pictures are significant now. Mohammed beginning to apply some pressure on that pack, and he has pulled it apart. Charlie Hicks has covered the move without too much trouble. But here are those two leaders. Now, how big is the gap behind them? 15K, 43.25.
I'm going to keep an eye on that, Tim, to see how far out they are.
Well, just extrapolating, 15K and 43.25 is about 61.10 tempo. So they have stuck pretty steady, this leading pair, and they're 36 seconds back. That is a huge amount of ground to make up in, what, 6K?
But they are closing a little bit. They were further back at 10K. So here we go. They are starting to move a little bit. You can see Mohammed there. He's definitely trying to push that a little bit, and he's asking for help from Charles Hicks. Charles Hicks, as we mentioned, this is his first time running 13.1, but he looked so good when he ran the Cherry Blossom 10-miler there. You said it, Tim. He won. He would have set the American record had he had the eligibility to do so, but he really waited in that race. He waited, and then when he needed to shine, he put on a killer kick. So these guys just have to keep thinking about what's going on in front of them, try and reel everybody in and work together, and you can see that they're trying to do that.
Well, Charlie Hicks at the moment is feeding off Mohammed's aggression. Said yesterday when we were talking to him that he's done with track. He just loves cross-country, loves road racing, loves the distances, and he's made some pretty strange decisions, although he's coached by Jerry Schumacher, one of USA's most experienced coaches. Lives in Eugene, sleeps in what is effectively a little oxygen tent around his bed. He was explaining to us, with a sort of sand belt that flops around his waist when
looks like an astronaut
asleep
kind
at
of.
night. Yeah, it's just weird. But you know, to go from being a good 5,000, 10,000 meter runner on the track, and then producing a wonderful 10 miles, but actually going straight to the marathon as he did in New York last November without a half under his belt, was an unusual decision. As we see that leading pair of men now leaning into another little upslope. They've got a massive gap, 36 seconds at 15K. And the women's race, still Hurley doing the job.
But Hurley and Kurgat, just a little bit of distance now on Jess McLean. I know it doesn't look like much, but any type of distance like that, it starts to wear on you mentally. And then we see Elwood, I believe, still in fourth there, trying to hang on as well. But have we mentioned that Hillary Bohr didn't even know if he was going to race until actually this morning? I mean, he was willing himself to do that, but hit his shin really.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked to him yesterday about it. The wind blew his car door when he was opening it. It caught it, took it out of his hand, smacked into his shin really hard. That was 12 days ago. He's had to have x-rays and a CAT scan, and it showed no serious damage. But he said he hasn't been able to train hard. He's just jogged
Deep
for the last
bruise.
10 days. Now, I'll tell you what, if he wins this here today, and in any case he's going to have a good run, a lot of people are going, the last 10 days. I mean, what can you do in the last week before a major race like this? You can only mess up your fitness. You're not going to get fitter in the last 10 days.
No, but
you can polish it a little bit.
Yeah, but he is training for Rotterdam, too. I mean, obviously, this is a huge tick on his. He wants to tick this off, but this is also in prep for a big race coming up in about 6 weeks' time. So, yeah, that was a hard hit for him, but he said he's been really fit. And sometimes those moments of rest do wonders for you. You know, we forget as athletes, rest is a good thing.
Well, these two are absolutely locked together. We spoke to Scott Simmons, the coach of Hillary Bohr, yesterday. He said he knows he's in great shape. He thinks he'll go well here. But Mohammed, look, write a picture. This is the battle for third and fourth. At the moment, Mohammed, who has done all the aggressive running this last 10 minutes or so to break away and break up that second pack, is easing away from Charlie Hicks. And I'm a little surprised to see this. Mohammed, who was 46th in the world cross country back in early January, does have the credentials, real pedigree, 27.03 with 10,000 meters on the track last year. It was a personal best by over 50 seconds. He's looking lovely and relaxed, isn't he? But have these fellas misjudged it? I think they meant well run out of road here, Carrie.
Yeah, he said his build hasn't been great, but the last month has been good, and his goal was to come in here to win. He believes he can do it. He's a little further back than maybe he wants to be, but he still has that belief. He said he's been studying the course, re-watching the races. You know, he knows what this course is about. He's come here. He's already run it. He was fourth here last year, so I think he's not going to be surprised to know that the two up front are the two that are up front, you know, knowing Hillary Bohr and Wesley Kiptoo the way that they race, but he's trying to put a push on here.
But I would understand it if their splits had been super quick through 5K, through 10K, through halfway. But they haven't been. They've been fairly standard. I mean, the course record here, the event record is 60:37. That was by Nicholas Kosimbe of Kenya back in 2022. That's the event record. But it's not like they set out at something almost suicidally, intimidatingly quick through the first 5K or 10K. You know, they were never on quicker than about 61-minute tempo.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he said he wanted to sit back. He expected these two guys to go, and he said, I want to be really cognizant about knowing that I have those hills in the last part of the race. So this was part of his race strategy. Have the guys hit it enough on the turns. And now we can see these top three women have broken away now. And it is Emma Grace Hurley, Edna Kurgat, and Jess McLean.
Absolutely. And is that Kurgat alongside Hurley, or is she just beginning to challenge her a little bit? Hurley, every time Kurgat gets alongside her, Hurley just gets her head down and pushes on and tries to get that extra meter. There it is, look.
Yeah.
Now, is Kurgat being stretched? This is what Hurley has to question. Is Kurgat just feeding off her here, or is she being stretched, and is she under pressure? And, you know, if you're going to be a front runner, you've got to tell yourself, I am testing them. They're not comfortable. If they were that comfortable, they'd be right up alongside me. So Hurley here has just got to keep gradually turning the dial a little bit, and keep the pressure on those two.
And this is exactly what Jess McLean does. She finds herself grinding back into it. There was a little bit of space there, and she had to kind of regroup, and she got back right on the shoulder. She's got to do it right here. And you know what? Although she might be hurting physically, Jess McLean has to win the mental game right now, and that's what she's got to do, even with Emma Grace Hurley, who's looked so good and has been in control of this race, and with Edna Kurgat. Having you kind of play yo-yo, right, or go back and forth. Emma Grace is going to wonder, well, Jess is not going away. She might not hear her for a couple steps, but then she'll hear her again. So this is exactly what Jess needs to do. See, she falls back a little bit, but then she closes that gap up. She's so tough.
Yeah, McLean, well, we know she's in great form. She won the Mesa 10K a couple of weeks ago in 31:13. Personal best, but more significant, she won it by 81 seconds, Carrie, nearly a minute and a half. So that was a massive run, and that's the sort of speed and confidence you want to carry into a race like this. So we'll watch McLean very carefully there. Now, speaking of sponsors, as I've done a couple of times already today, Adidas, proud sponsor of Atlanta Track Club. It's a partnership been going for many years now, and probably many years to come, with Atlanta Track Club and Adidas hand in hand through today's races.
Well, last year we saw the American record holder for the women, Wayne Colati, kind of push early on, and she really suffered the last part of the race. This was the woman, Emma Grace Hurley, who she did so well on these hills. She was second here last year. Jess McLean was fourth. But I would say Emma Grace Hurley just knows this course. She knows how to handle the turns. She knows how to handle the ups and the downs. And so this was the woman that I was watching. And I think a lot of people think that this is the lady that it's due time for her to win. She's been second 5 times at USATF Championship. She doesn't have a USATF Championship yet on her resume. So we're watching her and seeing what she can do. But Edna Kurgat, Jess McLean, 2 of the greatest in America right now.
Well, she started pushing and breaking up the pack at about 24 minutes. And at 15K, 49.11 there for Emma Grace Hurley, just in the lead with Kurgat and McLean there. And then Elwood, well, she's cutting that lonesome pass another 5 seconds back in the background. Really awkward sort of distance, about 30, 40 meters behind, and just can't quite close with this trio, even though she's moving at about the same pace. Now, this is a lovely shot. Look how quickly they are shifting here. And McLean, I think, here is being stretched. Has there been an acceleration from the 2 in front on what is a very slight downslope? And will this open up the gap to Elwood back in 4th place?
But they can't shake her. She just keeps coming back every time we think she's getting dropped. She keeps coming back. But Edna Kurgat has sort of been silent but violent right there in second. She's let Emma Grace Hurley make the move. She really hasn't touched the front to lead this race. Maybe a little bit like that on the turn. But here we go. Just as I said it, she's taken the lead.
Yeah, probably for the first time. And Hurley will hang on to her coattails if Kurgat does try to move away, because Hurley has run here with enormous determination. Second last year, ran a massive PR, 51 seconds, almost a minute PR last year with that 67.35. I don't think it's going to be that quick here today. It's not a day for the way these races have unfolded, the pair of them. Not a day for super fast times, but just great racing here in Atlanta as usual. And now McLean is struggling back in 3rd place. That gap is just growing a little bit. It's what, about 6 or 8 meters now, as Kurgat challenges Hurley. And Hurley is kind of slugging back everything she's been given. She's giving back to Kurgat and saying, I can match you with this. So almost making contact with each other there.
Well, does Emma Grace Hurley know that this is that little last down slope before they make that last 5K climb? I mean, look at on the map here, Tim. They're going down right now, and the last 5K, it is up. There's a couple little bumps that they go down a decline, but really this is where they're going to start to climb. It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt, and McLean here is hurting. Oh, she's closing up on this pair a little bit. That's great running from her. I'll tell you what, the Kurgat, I mean, both Hurley and McLean, they're in the dark glasses, know that Kurgat is in fabulous shape. And, you know, when you're in good cross-country shape, and it was a pretty flattish but undulating course in Tallahassee. When she was 10th in the world cross-country, Kurgat must have got a massive injection of confidence running in that USA vest and placing so highly in front of most of the best cross-country runners in the world. And now she's beginning to lean into these little upslopes, negotiates that right-hand turn very comfortably. A lot taller than Hurley, but this is a wonderful clash between this pair, neither of them giving any quarter. And McLean tucked in right behind him. The gap to Elwood has grown massively, back in 4th place. This is our first 3 in the women's race. In the men's race, well, surely this is our first 2, with what, nearly 56 minutes on the clock. We think they're going to run around 61 minutes, something like that. So about 5 minutes to go. They've got just a long mile to go.
And we're watching the women climb this hill up. You know, we were talking about Jess McLean. She's getting ready for Boston. Last year she had such a great Boston Marathon, but she said this is really in the thick of her training. And she did run a 4:34 mile, and then she came back 15 minutes later and ran sub 10-minute 2 mile. Like she's had some speed, but she's really been putting in some big work. She says she's in super good shape. And to me, that maybe is why she drops off a little bit. She's got some heavy legs. The two in front of her are not training for 26.2. So Jess McLean in third right now is the woman training for a big spring marathon. Is that maybe why she falls back and then makes her way up again into the lead pack? So just interesting to watch how she's racing. And on the men's side, we definitely have a battle there for 1 and 2.
We do. And the man who has done most of the work throughout the race, pretty much since the gun, Wesley Kiptoo, just beginning to get a gap on Hillary Bohr, the 36-year-old in second place, who was third last year. He may go one place better, but I don't know if he's going to get the victory, because you can see there, as they approach the last kilometer or so, Wesley Kiptoo getting the reward for so much hard work, easing away from Hillary Bohr. It's been a very determined run, and he must have had that question mark in his mind for the last 57 minutes, wondering whether Hillary Bohr was just cruising behind him or was hanging on. And it's the latter, certainly through this last second half of the race. It turns out that Bohr has been hanging on, and Kiptoo has at last kept pummeling away and got that justification for his hard work, the reward. McLean, tell you what, Harry, look at this.
I know, she's playing it smart, I think. She knows what she's got to do. She's getting through those hills, and maybe now this is where that strength is really going to pay off for her. But, you know, talking about watching Wesley Kiptoo, these are he's in the last mile, Tim, so he's going to have to open up that stride on the downhills, just kind of grind out those little ups that he's got, but he's through the hardest part of it already.
Well, he is, and just looking at the gap behind Kiptoo, it's grown pretty quickly. In the last couple of minutes, it's gone from 1 meter to about 30 or 40 meters. And I'll tell you what, when you sense that, or if you get a glance at it, when you're leading and you've been working for so hard, and at last you break your rival, you get that surge of adrenaline because you realize you've done it. You've got what you wanted. A little glance there, crossed it to his right on that one of the final turns. And now he can relax a little bit mentally and just cruise here. The 20K split there, look, 58-13.
And he's starting to smile. He's starting to feel it. You can tell that he knows he's doing well. And, oh, actually, Hillary Bohr has given the crowd a little wave as well. These two men from the get-go have been working hard together. They've been hanging out the entire time. I had them at the presser a couple days ago. They're talking about their kiddos back home. Both of them have 2 kids, and they said they had to bring home the bacon because the kids were expecting them. They keep them, they hold them accountable. They're young little ones. I think that Hillary Bohr has 2 that are a little bit older than Wesley Kiptoo. They're right around, both their kids are under 10 years old though, but they definitely crack a good whip.
Look at those splits left to picture. Mohammed 38 seconds down. He's 32 seconds, over half a minute down on Bohr. He's going to run out of road, although he's been charging for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Charlie Hicks has been dropped, some 9 seconds down at 20K behind Mohammed. He's not going to make it onto the rostrum unless something drastic happens here. And Liking back there over a minute back now in 5th place. At last 5K 14:48. Remember the first 5K was 14:21. Second 5K was 14:25. That last 5K through from 15 through 20K was significantly slower. Those uphills from Piedmont Park and in particular have really taxed the splits, so to speak, but they haven't affected the quality of the racing, or the quality of the running, I should say, from Wesley Kiptoo. He's effectively now in the home straight. Over 60 minutes on the clock. My prediction for his time at 20K, 58:13, says he should come home in around 61:15. It's been an unusual race, this one, where several big names did not meet the challenge of the early kilometers behind Kiptoo and Bohr, and the pair of them ran away early on from the chasing pack. Wesley Kiptoo has done just about all the work. He's the one who's applied all the pressure, kilometer after kilometer. And as he turns right now, the penultimate turn, he's got about 150 meters to go. The finish line will be on sight when he makes this right-hand turn. Arm raise, he's got the luxury here of being able to enjoy this finishing straight run. The smile is there, the arms wide, the emotion pours out as he crosses the line here. in this 20th Publix Atlanta Half Marathon, becomes the USATF Half Marathon Champion for 2016. And that quite supreme there. 61:15, the unofficial winning time for Wesley Kiptoo. And Bohr crosses the line there. What, about 14 or 15 seconds down? Mohammed coming home for a third place. He worked hard to break Charlie Hicks, and that's not easily done these days. He will be delighted with the way he's handled the challenge from Charlie Hicks, and makes it onto the rostrum in a great celebration there from these three.
Look at these guys. They are so pumped. Those three can go to Copenhagen next fall and represent the U.S. as we see Charlie Hicks in his debut half marathon, finishing in 4th there. But look at the smiles there, Tim. Pretty awesome.
Well, Charlie's a smart fella, isn't he? I mean, you could call this a baptism of fire as he finishes a long way behind that trio, who, as you rightly point out, will they accept the challenge, go to Copenhagen, Denmark in September for the World Road Running Championships half marathon race. But Charlie Hicks, his eyes now focused very much upon Boston in 7 weeks' time. Robert Liking, brilliant 5th place there, 62.21. Aidan Reed in 6th, 62.22. As the Stars and Stripes are held aloft. The significance, of course, not lost on anybody here. Those fellas are in the team.
Sam Chalenga, they're just finishing his race. He's been here before. He has been so good for so many years. Robert Miranda.
Sam Chalenga in 9th place, 62.49. Rob Miranda, 63.01,
yep.
10th.
Looks like Cole Sprout, Graydon Morris were right in front of Sam Chalenga and Robert Miranda there. But wow, gutsy move up front with Hillary Bohr and Wesley Kiptoo, taking it out early on, really putting the pressure on early. Those two working together. Definitely didn't know how it was going to go, but they had the strength, and you said it, the time wasn't super fast for them. They just were aggressive.
Well, no, but that's right. But what I loved about Wesley Kiptoo is he knew he was strong. He ran 2:08 in Boston last year, 2:09 in Chicago last October. He has that marathon runner's toughness and strength, and he wanted to make it a test from the gun. He didn't want it to become a burn-up over the last 5K. So he engineered the race the way it rolled out, exactly what was best for him, and he came up with an impressive win.
All right, well, look at this here. We have something going on the women's side. Jess McLean making a big move on this incline. You can see it. This was a little bit ago.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago. McLean, who was just tucked in behind Hurley and Kurgat for, 10 or 15 minutes, and we thought maybe she was struggling at times, but she has made a move. She's tested them both, and Kurgat hasn't been able to respond, and this is quite a shock. Hurley, well, she's led for most of the race and was tucked in behind McLean, but here we go live now. 71 minutes on the clock. They've got probably about 9 minutes of running to go. And McLean, Carrie, taking it to them and taking it away from them. Are you surprised by this?
Not at all. I mean, just to see the way that she was fighting back. There were some moments where I wondered if she was feeling okay, but it might have been that she just wasn't answering the call of a surge, just kind of having more even stats. And, you know, for her, it's always about how she finishes and how she does it with a smile on her face. She's always happy out there. She said her husband had to run 22 miles yesterday here in Atlanta, and I said, can I help him out? She said, no, he's got to do it on his own. She is all about getting it done. She's got to get right on the airplane and get home and get to work tomorrow. She's very methodical about how she lives her life, and that's how she races as well. And she looks so good right now. She looks really in her own rhythm. And this would be big for her. She's already won a U.S. Championships. It would have been a couple years now, so this would be big for her to cross the tape and break that tape.
Well, she's got the balance exactly right. Remember that fabulous win over 10K just a couple of weeks ago. She ran so fast in Boston. She was 7th in Boston in April last year, 2:22. That 10K speed, that marathon strength, and this is the sweet spot in between. And how sweet is this run from McLean?
Yeah, you said it. She's been looking so good. She ran a 31-minute 10K on the roads in Arizona coming in. As I mentioned, those 2 track races that she used as a workout. She is just really clipping things off. And, you know, she took a break from the sport, Tim, during COVID. She kind of went away from it. And she does have a full-time career. And so she really put her time into that and then started running again and really found her way back. And she's had some numerous races where she's been right in it, but hasn't won the race yet. And today might be her day.
Well, she's timed it to perfection, this surge from McLean. And whether this is your first race or you've been at this for a while, Garmin smartwatch is the perfect tool to help you push to the finish line. Speaking of pushing for the finish line, McLean here, very, very smooth. Quite a high arm carriage, isn't it? But she looks nice and relaxed. Really long, raking stride has carried her clear of Hurley, who has had to let go. And second last year for Emma Grace Hurley, it looks like it could be a sense of deja vu for her. With, 63 minutes on the clock. They've probably got about, it's almost 64 minutes on the clock. And this is the battle for second and third. And Kurgat making a little resurgence here.
I think she did just take a look back to see where the athletes were behind her, and that's kind of where she was like, I got to either stay right here on her shoulder or I'll be all alone. And that's a really tough place to be, running all alone with just over a mile to go here.
Well, this has been a great debut for Edna Kurgat. Whatever happens, she did have a 74-minute timing, but it was just a kind of training run in Denver back in May last year. Kurgat here will come away with so much more knowledge about this particular road race distance, but Hurley just trying to hang on to second place here. She won't want to go down in her position from last year. Well, McLean surely now is running to victory.
And right now, we are trying to figure out what's happening here.
Well, that was really unfortunate. Whatever happened in that women's race. They are at, they've got about 64, 65 minutes on the clock, the women. They've got about 2K to go. So they're at about 11 and a half miles, 12 miles on that map. As you can see, bottom left corner. Carrie, they're coming towards the big downhill, but have they been led off course in that women's race? Or did they just take a wrong turn? Trying to clear that up right now. Kurgat and Hurley still battling away for second and third. But is that McLean in the lead? Has she lost the big lead? Maybe McLean went off course.
She's still in the lead, but everyone has caught back up to her here now.
Boy, oh boy, 65 minutes on the clock, there or thereabouts, so that's when it happened. And McLean and Hurley, by the looks of things, both going off course, maybe Kurgat as well. And it suddenly created a 1 meter gap between these two, and it was, about 50 meters.
Well, getting out of your rhythm is always super hard, but she looks like she's back on, and hopefully she can calm herself. Emotionally, Tim, it's really tough to have moments like that in a race. So this is where she's got to dig deep here and get back on it.
Yeah. Very, very unusual indeed, but McLean looks to be doubling down in a determination to get away from Hurley, who was 1 meter behind her. Now she's 5 meters behind her. And with 67 minutes on the clock now, so they are racing up front, a little bit closer together than we expected.
I still think McLean is leading.
But
well, we can take a look at the 20K splits now. There it is. Molly Bourne, 66.22. Elwood, Rodenfels, Parker. At 15K, of course, it was Hurley, Kurgat, McLean. The big three were locked together for many, many kilometers. But McLean here, well, she had a very comfortable lead. She'd built up over the previous couple of kilometers. And she continues in those shades to ease away from Hurley. She's still full of running. But was Bourne in the lead through 20K. Has there been some confusion. Did they run off course by a sizable chunk of time, which enabled others to come through?
Well, that is Molly Bourne that we're watching right here, along with Elwood. So Molly Bourne, as we said, coming into her second half marathon ever. She ran the BAA half this past fall, going into her CIM marathon debut. And I believe that's Carrie Elwood there on the right of her screen. This is kind of what Molly Bourne does, though. This is her, in the second half of her races, it seems like she really wakes up and she starts to attack again. And she looks like she's been attacking. Carrie Elwood was the one that was up there in the front leading, or right on the shoulder of Emma Grace Hurley in the early stages of this race.
Well, we know Molly Bourne's in great shape. On the 7th of December, just 4 weeks after her half debut, she won that CIM, or California International Marathon, in Sacramento in 2:24:10. That was 11 weeks ago. She's clearly recovered from that. Don't think she's going to hit her PR today of 70:11. That was in Boston back on the 9th of November. But a marathon time, 2:24, suggests she can go a lot faster. She makes the turn for home. And this is a bizarre situation here at the end of this women's race, where we had a great battle building between Hurley and Kurgat and McLean. But it looks like it's going to be win for Molly Bourne here. You win some, you lose some. She's going to win here today. 11 weeks after a win at the CIM International Marathon, she wins here at this 20th edition of the Publix Atlanta Half Marathon, takes the USATF title. And in second place behind her, just checking who that is, Elwood coming through too. She was back in 4th place, I think, originally, Elwood, when we last saw her about 10 minutes ago. One of that time for Molly Bourne, 69:44. It's a new PB for her. She lifted some 25 seconds or so off her pass, by 69:43 officially now for Molly Bourne. And Carrie Elwood, well, 69:47. That's a minute or so outside her PR. Annie Rodenfels making her debut, taking 3rd place, 70:12 for Rodenfels. What a turn-up that has been. And here comes Parker, Cassie Parker. 70:22 her PR. She's about 25 seconds outside that. But Molly Bourne is the champion. She and Elwood and Rodenfels, if they choose to accept the challenge, can go to Denmark in September. Parker, 70:47. 5th, Costarellis. McLean coming home in what has been a frustrating day at the races for her. Yeah, and no wonder she's probably going to be asking 1 or 2 questions of exactly what's on. She and Emma Grace Hurley waged a wonderful battle through the second half of the race, along with Edna Kurgat, remember, making a debut here today. But McLean ends up down the field there in 9th place. Maggie Montoya in 10th place. Montoya, by the way, 71:27, was exactly 2 minutes outside her PB. McLean's time, for the record, 71:27 as well. And an utterly bizarre situation. So unfortunate. These things happen. You see it in races occasionally. Athletes follow bikes that are turning off course or lead vehicles. They make a wrong turn. And of course, when you're in the heat of the moment, and it was mentioned several times at the technical meeting at 6 o'clock last night in the hotel, just a stone's throw literally from this finish area. It's hard to think sometimes on your feet when you're racing, when you're in the heat of battle, you're seeing red, you've got your head down, you're laser focused on the task at hand. You don't necessarily listen to people yelling at you from behind. You don't check out that you're still on course if you're following a lead vehicle and it looks like you're on a good course, a correct course. But that was not the case today for Jess McLean. Indeed, Emma Grace Hurley down in 12th place, 71.40. Edna Kurgat right behind her, 10 seconds back in 13th place, 71.50. But our champion today, well, Molly Bourne, what a worthy champion she is too after that fabulous run. The marathon, as we see some of the mass runners moving along the course, they'll be on a safer route with plenty of bodies in front of them. In glorious conditions, I mean, unbroken, perfect blue skies over Atlanta today. Temperature at the start was 45 Fahrenheit. It's gone up a couple of degrees. Still a nippy morning. Everybody around us wearing coats. And the post-mortem, of course, we'll look at that women's race. And it's so unfortunate because the Atlanta Track Club do such an incredible job in organising these massive races. Over 15,000 here today. The mass participation crowd, of course, won't have been affected, won't be aware of any issues on the course up ahead for those elite women. The men came home just fine with Wesley Kiptoo taking that win in 61.15. Just to remind you of that victory for him. Second place Hilary Bohr, 61.30, and Ahmed Mohammed third, 61.51, with Charlie Hicks in his debut 62.10. Back to the drawing board for Charlie Hicks. Very, very smart, easy talking fella, Hicks. He was my pre-race favourite. I don't think he'll be put off about that in his preparations for Boston, but he can obviously make any tweaks that he wants. Well, Carrie Tollefson is with the men's leading athletes right now. Carrie.
Hey, I'm down with all three of our top three guys. I'm going to start with Mohammed, you know what? You did so well. You were up there, not in the lead, in the front of the second pack the entire way. Tell us what was going through your mind trying to reel these two in.
Yeah, they had each other, and I think that's what kind of I missed out on at the end. But I wanted to make this team. This was a redemption tour. I finished fourth like 3 times last year at 3 different U.S. championships, and so number one goal was to make this team, and second goal was to get these guys, and they had each other, and I'm proud of both of them, and excited to represent this country with them.
Did you know that they were up that far, though?
We thought we could, maybe the last 5K with the hills, maybe we could reel them in, and they had each other, like I said, and so I was kind of working solo with Charles Hicks, and yeah, at one point I realized there was no getting them, but I wanted to make sure that I secured this third spot.
All right, well, we're going to go over here to our runner-up, Hilary Bohr. Hilary, you were pushing the pace early on. You two were kind of going back and forth, but very aggressive in the early stages.
It's just, it's the way I like to race. I like to go hard and just try to race hard, not come down to sit and kick. And, you know, Wesley was really good today, and fast title. There's no other people I want to represent the U.S. than these three representing the Hoka, and I'm excited for it.
Well, it was so fun to watch you race. Congratulations. All right, Wesley Kiptoo, you won your first USATF National Championships, and you're going to the World Championships. So how does it feel?
It feels amazing. It's an opportunity, and it just, there's no way I can describe this, but I would say it's just the beginning, because I started with the World Cross Country, and running with these guys motivates me a lot, and the work we've been like putting in is like paid off. So I'm really proud of myself and my sponsors and my teammate and my coach and everyone else who made the team today.
When did you know you had it in the bag? When did you know you were going to win this race?
Just like after 1K when I went with Ellery, because I knew we're going to keep it like this all the way. It doesn't matter who's going to win. And we're all like good friends. It doesn't matter if Hillary wins or I win. So.
Well, you guys all won for great finishes today. You all had awesome celebrations. Congratulations. Good luck to you guys in Copenhagen. Let's go, USA!
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, Tim. Back to you.
Thanks, Carrie. Great to hear those fellas all absolutely ecstatic with chance now to represent Team USA in September at the World Half Marathon Championships. As we see now the highlights of that men's race at 7:15 a.m. local time. The sun hadn't been up long, that high caliber but small elite field got underway. Went through a 5K in 14:21, this leading pair. Wesley Kiptoo in the arm sleeves doing the leading virtually from the get-go, but surprisingly, the pair of them, he and Hillary Ball, pulled away from the main pack very, very quickly, building up a lead. At 10K, they were 43 seconds ahead. And then Kiptoo kept on pushing, kept on surging, kept on pressure on Hillary Ball, and eventually got the gap. And just reward for a front-running performance. He said he loved to run from the front, to run aggressively. Well, he did that here today. And that's a fabulous USATF Half Marathon Championship gold medal for him, a silver for Hillary Ball, and a bronze for Mohammed there, Ahmed Mohammed. Mohammed's time 61:51. It was not the type of race that leads to super fast times. It was a race, a tactical race here today. Quite refreshing in a way in this age when we're so used to pace-made races where it's kind of point and press, and sometimes a little bit maybe not insipid, but just sometimes you get races which are just flat out running and there's not many nuances to it. Today we had nuances galore, more in the women's race than in the men's, but fabulous running from that pair. Kiptoo, the champion, 61:15. Hillary Ball, 61:30 with that second place. And in the women's race, a real surprise result. Well, providing legendary performance, exceptional offers, and a premium ownership experience. At BMW, they only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. Visit bmwatl.com for details. Well, the discussions will continue long into the morning. It is still only just before 20 minutes to 9 in the morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. Molly Bourne is the champion, 69:43 at the finish line. She was in 5th place at 15K. Carrie Elwood taking second here today, 69:47, some 4 seconds behind Molly Bourne. She was in 7th place at 15K, and that's where the changes took place. Cassie Parker, who was in 6th place at 15K, was in 4th at 20K. She ended up in 4th place, 70:47. So just the leading pair, Bourne and Elwood, getting under 70 minutes here today. Carrie Tollefson was going to talk to the leading ladies, but for kind of obvious reasons, they declined the offer of a chat with Carrie on camera. It was a difficult situation for everybody there in the final kilometers. But let's recap that women's race. Very, very different in the nature, the way it unfolded. Carrie, who's back with me here in the booth. Emma Grace Hurley, second last year, was determined to go one better this morning. And that's why she ran for certainly the first 15K.
Yeah, she was really aggressive early on. You could see that she wanted to get out there and establish herself early on, but the women didn't let her get away.
No, they didn't. Hurley kept on working very hard to try and get a gap, and she did for everybody. Eventually, Elwood there, back left of this little group, dropping away to what was 4th at the time. Elwood ended up eventually in 2nd place, but through the latter stages of the race, Hurley, McLean, and on the far side, Kurgat had a 3-way battle with McLean looking to be coming out on top. Built up a lead over Hurley. It looked to be a winning lead 3/4 of the way through the race, and then a disaster struck. Every athlete's nightmare. There it's clearly, she realizes, all 3 of them realized, having gone a long, long way off course. Look at that. Empty road in front of them, empty road behind them. The mistake, realization, came too late. And that was good news for Molly Bourne. She will be accepting the winner's prize money here today, but maybe we'll have a strange feeling about it. And hopefully the only time in her career and those of the other athletes caught up in that really unfortunate off-course issue, the only time in their careers.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate situation that happened, but you know, we have to give it up. Annie Rodenfelds ran her debut marathon there, finishing third today, but yeah, there's been some mixed emotions down below. But again, you know, it's amazing, Tim, to see all of the women come together. They're all down there. They're all chatting. They're all trying to figure out what happened. And they all had really, really strong races out there today. So got to give it up. Molly Bourne kept her composure. She did get another USATF championship today. She has to celebrate that. You know, it's a tough situation, but it is part of racing.
Well, it is part of racing, but thankfully very, very rarely.
Yep.
Molly Bourne, the champion, was 69.43 ahead of Carrie Elwood. Elwood, who was back in fourth place for much of the race, 69.47, just 4 seconds down. And in third place, the other athlete making it onto the rostrum, Annie Rodenfeld, 70.12.
But Jess McLean, we do have to give it up to her. She really made a really strong move. She was yo-yoing back and forth, trying to close that gap up. And then in the final stages, she really went forward and looked really strong today. So with this disappointment today and her prep for Boston, people better watch out.
They had better watch out. Talk of watching out, something coming at us down the road. Atlanta's Marathon Weekend is not the largest running event in Atlanta. That honor goes to the Peachtree, the world's largest 10K. This July the 4th, the Northside Hospital Peachtree Road Race will unite America as it celebrates the 250th Independence Day. Runners from around America consider spending the 250th here with us in Atlanta at the world's largest running party. Mark your calendars now. Lottery registrations open on April the 1st. Well, we understand there is a discussion as to whether or not the women's race should be flagged. Does that mean, Carrie, the result is null and void? That would be kind of tough on the athletes who did run the correct course, didn't go off course, came home with what was to them a valid time, but actually, of course, unbelievably unfortunate for those athletes who did go off course, the first three athletes, at what we think at around 15K, 16K?
Yeah, and you know, I know that Molly Bourne did not want to do that interview because there was a lot of conversation down there. You can see Emma Grace Hurley, just the unfortunate situation that happened today. It's hard. These athletes run so hard and they train so hard for big events like this, so I'm sure there's just lots of confusion, and along with us being confused.
It's frustrating for everybody. And you know what? A quick shout out for the 2,000 plus volunteers who make races like today work. It's on the back of those volunteers that races like this are rolled out.
So there's a protest that definitely is taking place, and definitely they will update all of us as soon as they can figure that out.
Well, Carrie, a bizarre day of racing here, a tactical men's race that provided the team for Team USA in September in Denmark at the World Half Marathon Championships. Your final thoughts, though, over that women's race?
Well, the women's race showed that we have such great athletes across the board, and fun to see debutantes come out here, race against the veterans. But yes, in the men's race, obviously so fun to see Hillary Bohr and Wesley Kiptoo. But I had to give it up for Ahmed Mohamed. He really pushed that second pace. He tried to make a charge. They just got too far out in front of him. But he was so fired up to be on this team representing the U.S. in Copenhagen in September.
It's a small blip in the road for U.S. women's half marathon running, which is in fabulous shape at the moment. So many quick times in the Houston Half Marathon back in January. Men's race, well, that was a great racing today. But from all of us here in Atlanta, we'll be saying goodbye to you very shortly, as the majority of the 15,000 is still out there negotiating the streets and the rolling hills of Atlanta. I'm going to say goodbye now from Carrie Tollefson, myself, Tim Hutchings. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.